Okay, today I think I'm going to write the other half of my random working seating pair generator. Last time I wrote the part that actually does the random assignments of students, and this time I want to make something that will be a nice visual display. Or maybe nice is not the right word, maybe passable visual display. So there's a lot of ways to do this. What I want as the end goal is I want to let teachers make whatever kind of layout they want, and then you can run the random seating assignment and it will display the student names in custom drawn boxes, sort of that are laid out in the right way that the teacher wants for their room. The right way to do this would be to actually have an interactive program that would let the teacher click and drag or double click and create new seats and change their sizes and change how they look and things. That is not what I'm going to do. Instead, I'm going to do something quick and dirty. I'm going to use this as an excuse for creating my own simple text-based format. So somebody, probably me actually, will specify what the room format looks like in a text file using only text, and then that will be used to generate the graphics. So here's what I'm thinking. This is the rough sketch of what I think my room is going to look like, although I'm not really sure. I'll have a couple long tables, and then these are sort of like a workbench-like table that's affixed to the wall. And wherever I have a 2 written, that's where I want a working pair to be. So in my file, I think what I want is my format, I think, will ignore any line that starts with a double slash, just like in Java, so that way you can kind of leave comments if you want. But I think you have to start the line with a double slash. You can't have a double slash at the end of a line that has other important stuff. So there's going to be comments. I probably want to put information about the whole room at the top, like maybe the size of the room, or maybe... Oh, I know what it's going to be. I'll come back to this in a second. And so then there's going to be some separating character, like maybe I'll have just a bunch of dashes. So if there's a bunch of dashes, that divides the upper section from the lower section of my file. And then in the lower section, we're actually going to produce a rough ASCII picture of this. ASCII being the acronym for the character table. So here's the way it's going to work. I'll have a certain single character represent a pair of desks, because my random seating generator assigns students in pairs. So it doesn't make sense to me to specify desks separately. So I'll have maybe a star is what I'll use to specify a working pair. And then I can have another star right next to it, and so that'll represent those two. And then I'll have a space, and then I'll have another pair of stars for those two. And maybe up here I'll have a bunch of spaces followed by a star for this one. And then over here I'll have a star on the, maybe I'll have a row of spaces and a star there for that one. And then here I'll have star, 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 row of stars here, then another star, 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 and a star there. Let's see, what do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then another one will be 6. Okay. So then what the computer will do is it will take this, it's going to read it line by line, and every time it sees a space, that will represent a certain rectangle of empty space. And that's how it's going to decide what coordinates to use to draw the shape that it will draw whenever it sees a star. And when it sees a star, I'm thinking on the screen it will actually draw a pair of desks like this. That will be a particular size. So that's what we need to specify up here is for empty space, maybe I'll use underscore for empty space. Do I like that? No. Well, yes I do. All right, so up here we'll specify kind of what's the translation from characters into coordinates. So up here I might say underscore, and then we'll tell it like what's the width and the height of space represented by an underscore. So it might be like, I don't know, 60 and then 60. And these are all separated by spaces here. And then star is going to be I guess maybe we'll do 120 for the width by 60 for the height. Let's just check real quick to see like what that's gonna make my ultimate screen size. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rows here. What did I say? 60. So that's 540. So that's actually a little bit small. I can tinker around with that later, but that's the idea. Is in the upper section, is facts about the whole document, and then in the lower section is the actual table and chair layout. Okay, let's get started. So I'm going to create, let's see, I've already got this class called seating chart, which was what I used to do the random pairings. I think I'm not going to call this seating chart. I think I'm going to call this seating assignment. And then I'm going to make a separate one called chart. And a seating chart is going to have a list of seats. And then a seat is the object that's going to represent the actual seat that gets displayed, I think. So I'll need to create a seat object. And my seat object is going to have an x and a y coordinate for its upper left corner. And it's going to have a width and height in pixels, and probably some other things about it, like maybe its display color and some other things, but I'm going to leave those out for now. And then, I think I'm also going to give it a working pair, because those are the students who would sit in that seat. All right. I guess I'll go ahead and create getters and setters and everything else. I think I'm going to construct without the working pair. And then you can assign the working pair using a setter. And then the other thing is, if it's going to draw itself, I'm going to give it a p applet called window. If you remember p applet, I have to import the jar. A p applet is sort of like a graphics window, and it's the processing library that MIT Media Labs released a long time ago. So window, this.window equals window. I guess I'll go ahead and include the jar right now. Yeah, okay. I kind of forget where I keep these things. Oh, great. All right, so core.jar. Okay, so I'm going to be using core.jar from processing 3 instead of processing 2. And that's going to lead some changes in how the runner works when we actually display it. And I'll go over that when we get there. Okay, so now I've got window. And now the important thing is I wanted a draw method where this seat will actually draw itself to the screen. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to say window dot rectangle, and the rectangle is going to be at the XY coordinates for the upper left, and then a width of width and a height of height. Great. And then, you know, maybe what I want to do is actually draw two of them. So I'll have width divided by 2, and then I'll draw another rectangle starting at x plus width over 2, and it's also going to be width over 2. So now it's like I'm taking whatever the width is and I'm drawing two rectangles for the two seats. Oh, and I gotta display the names also. So then, if working pair is not null, then I'm going to display some text, and the text is going to be working pair dot. Did I not make getters and setters? Let's take a look and set working pair. Pair of students. Let's do this. Get student, or let's call it get left student and get right student. And we'll say if pair equals null, return empty, and I'll say if pair.size equals 0, or I guess I'll put that here in this condition as well, or if pair.size equals 0. Otherwise, I'll return pair.get0 dot. I think toString just gives me its name. Just gives me the name of the student. And then same thing here, only this time if size is less than 2. Here I'll say if size is less than 1. Okay. Otherwise, I'll get the right-hand student, and I'll return the name. Okay, cool. So here we are back here, and I'm going to do working pair dot get left student name, and I'm going to display it at. So I don't quite remember. I want to set the text mode so that the text displays centered, but I don't quite remember how to do that. So let's look it up. Processing. Well, here, we'll go straight to the website. Oops. So whenever you want to do something in processing and you don't remember how, it's very easy to check. And sometimes, every now and again, it is in fact better not to just ask Google directly. So here is, so text, but I don't want text area, I don't want textures, text, great. Text align, text mode, I'm pretty sure is what I want. Or maybe text align. Let's look at text and it'll probably tell me. So I'm noticing you can set the size with text size. The text displays in relation to the text align function, left, right, center. Great. So text align is really what I want. Great, text align. Great, right, center, left. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to say window.text align window.center. And now I can display it at the middle of the box. So let's see here. Where's my pen? So So if I've got, I just want to sort of think out what are the coordinates supposed to be. So if I've got, up here is x, y, this is width, so that means this is x plus width over 2. So that would mean this is x plus width over 4, and this is x plus width 3 times width over 4, because it's like 1, 2, 3/4 of the width. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. X plus width over 2, nope, width over 4. And then I want y plus height over 2 as well, because I want it to display like really in the middle of the box. Oops. So one thing I'm not thinking about here is I'm not thinking about what happens if this string is too large for the box that I'm trying to display it in. And I'm intentionally not thinking about that right now. We can come back and fix that later, or the teacher themselves can just use abbreviations for student names if that doesn't work, or they can change the size of their rectangles if they want to. Anyway, it doesn't seem core to the functionality, so that's why I'm skipping it. All right, so let's recollect. Where were we? So draw is going to draw my 2 rectangles for the particular seat that I have, and if the working pair is defined, then I'll display the student names inside the rectangles for the working pair. Okay, cool. So now I'm back to the seating chart, and the seating chart is going to be a whole list of these things. So public seating chart. Actually, I think what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to make the constructor private, and we're going to make a static method that will generate the seating chart. So public static is going to return a seating chart, generate from file, and instead of file name, I think I'll say file path. Okay, so here's the idea of what we want to do. I think I want to read file as string, and then I want to parse the file. The term parse means something like interpret it. So I want to go through it and kind of look at its structure and see what it's supposed to be telling me. Okay, if you don't know how to read text files in Java, that's, again, a thing that's very easy to look up. There's usually a lot of different ways to do it. I tend to like to go for Stack Overflow, because it'll give you better answers often than tutorials will. Okay, sorry for that interruption. So this guy's mentioning you can check out some articles and books and things, and these are like hinting at the commands you'd want to use. I think for my purposes, this is just going to be fine. So using a buffered reader object and a string builder object. Okay, so read file as string. Let's call this result read file as string, file path. Now I'll create a method for that. And I start with a buffered reader. Except I want it to use my file path rather than that thing. And now we're going to do let's add a catch clause. So you probably don't know about exception handling. Exception handling is a way of dealing with runtime errors. Runtime errors are errors that happen while the program is running. So if the user like types in some input that's invalid, for example, and then you try and do something with it. So like if they type the word lobster and you try and interpret it as an integer. Here, what we're trying to deal with is like what if a file doesn't exist? We're trying to open it, so here like under unhandled exception type file not found exception. So what if we try and open a file but it's not really there? So what I'll do is I will I'm just going to make this be a general exception. Oh, I see. Okay, hold on. Here, I'm just going to move this inside. So try means it's going to try to do all this code, and if a runtime error happens, it's going to catch that error. And catch doesn't mean it's going to fix it. What it means is the code execution is going to jump down here, and it will do whatever's inside this block. So at this, what it's really going to do is it's just going to print out what is the error. I guess let's do this. So what's happening? So I read the lines and I'm appending the lines, and then eventually string is everything. Okay, so now I'm going to return this one, but first I'm going to do br.close. And then down here, I'll do return. I guess I'll return the empty string. I guess I'll return null. I wonder, is that inside the block? No. Okay, well, whatever. Okay, there might be a small memory leak in mine. I don't care. Okay, so read file as string. Cool, that is presumably working. So now I've got to parse the file. So I'm going to make a method for that also. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. I'm going to start by breaking it up into lines. By doing result.split, and then I'm going to split on new line. Okay, so now each one of these array elements is a new line. And now I'm going to loop over them. Or I'm going to loop over them with a for each loop, like this. All right, so if line starts with // then I'm going to ignore it. So continue is a keyword that means jump to the next iteration of this loop. Okay, so if the line doesn't start, so that's how I'm ignoring it. If the line doesn't start with // I guess I'm going to create a Boolean for, or I'm going to create an int for what section of the file I'm in. So I'm starting in section 0. If the line starts with at least that many dashes, I'm going to add one to the file section. And then I'm also going to continue. All right, so if file section is 0, then I'm going to handle the line differently than if I'm in file section 1. So if I'm in file section 0, that's where I'm recording information about the relative sizes of things. So seat width and seat height I guess we'll do at least those 4. All right, so let's do this. So if line starts with a star, then I'm going to parse it. Well, let's do this. If the line starts with a star or line starts with a underscore for empty space, I'm thinking right now about whether or not I want to make the format flexible enough that you can set what character you're using in the file itself. So in that case, I wouldn't want to hard code in star and things here. It might be nice, but I think I'm not going to do that now. I can come back later and do that if I need to. Okay, so if it's one of those two things, then I'm going to do this. String so line dot split on space. I might want to split on white space just in case people put more than one space here. But I think I'm not going to do that right now. So now I'm going to do width is going to be elements. Well, let's do this. So if elements dot length is less than 3, only if it's greater than or equal to 3 do I want to do anything. Because I'm expecting to see a character and then 2 different numbers describing the width and the height. So I'm going to say int w equals, or I guess that's fine. So int w equals elements 1, int h equals elements 2. Integer.parseInt. And now, what I'm going to do, so if elements 0 equals star, then, oh, this is being run statically. Okay, I don't want to make these static because I do want to let these be different for different seating chart objects. So let's go back to generate from file here, where I'm going to parse the file format. I think I'm actually going to give it a new seating chart as input that it can be assigning things to. So now it's taking a chart as input. Great. So now I can say chart dot seat width equals w, chart dot seat height equals h. Else, if elements 0 equals underscore, I'll do the same 2 things, but with different variables. So empty space width and empty space height. Oops. Okay, I have returned with more coffee. So before I keep going, I actually feel like I want it to display an ongoing log of what it's doing. So because this is going to be helpful with debugging later if it turns out it's not doing what it should. So here, if it doesn't start with a star or an underscore, I want it to tell me that it doesn't recognize the line start, and then substring from 0 to 1 is getting the first character of the line. And maybe I'll say what it's expecting. Okay. And then in here, we've got star underscore split. So if elements error format must be star num num or underscore num num. Actually, I guess we'll use single quotes here. Okay, I think that does it. So then file section 1. Okay, so this is where we're actually, so file section 1, let's remember what this looks like. File section 0 is this section where we've done underscore num num or star num num. And then we've got the section divider. So now we're actually going through and we're figuring out where we are. And we're actually creating the seating objects to fill the seating chart. So I think what I'm going to do is this. So I'm going to set current x and current y coordinate to be 0 and 0. Because and 0, 0 is up here. And as I read character by character, we're increasing the x coordinate. And as we read line by line, we're increasing the y coordinate. And that's what we're actually going to use to assign coordinates when we actually create the rectangles. So let's see, every single time, all right, so we're in section 1. So at the very end of section 1, I want to say, oh, that's interesting. Here's what I'm thinking. Well, we can't have an empty space. I think we've just got to have one set of width and heights. I guess we can have a different... Here's what I'm thinking. The problem is I'm imagining it... So characters come in a grid-based layout. But here I have a different width and height associated with blank space and associated with desks. So the issue is, what if desks have like a large height and empty space has a small height? It's possible, I think, to end up with a very weird result from here. So I think if it's actually going to be a grid-based layout, maybe I'm just going to have grid square width and grid square height. In which case, I actually don't need all this business. I guess we can just, well, I gotta think about this. Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna get rid of all of this. I'm gonna say if it starts, I'm gonna change the file format. So if line starts with grid colon, then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to split it on space. And if elements doesn't equal 3, then the format must be grid colon num num. Okay, but then I don't want unrecognized start. Well, I guess actually we could do this as well. I'm just making these different so that way, for debugging purposes, they'll appear different. What's the problem here? What does that match with? Oh. Where did I actually want this? Yes. Okay. Okay, cool. And so now I don't need this, and I don't need this. And I can just go directly to chart.width and chart.height. Excuse me. Oh. Okay. Cool. So if file section equals 1, right, now where was I? So let's do this. Let's break it into characters. So I'm going to split it on nothing, which splits it into individual characters. And now I'm going to loop over it. And so if char's element I equals a star, that's when we want to create a new pair of desks, which I called what? Seat? Yeah. And what does seat take as an input? XY width height window. Okay, so for XY, current X, current Y, and then chart dot grid width and chart dot grid height. Oh, and the P applet. So I'm just going to have a static P applet available in the seating chart, which it's going to use actually. Private static P applet window. guess it can't be static. At least not easily. That's fine though. Okay. Yeah. So now, down inside parse file format, I'm making a new seat, but I'm going to give it chart.window. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so now as long as current x and current y make sense, we're okay. So current x is going to be, I guess we don't actually need a current x variable because, actually I guess we don't really need, we do need current y. Okay, so current x is actually just going to be I times grid width yeah, that makes sense. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say chart dot add seat s. I'm going to create an add seat method. Okay, so let's review. If I'm in file section 1, I am splitting each line, and I'm looping through each character in each line, and whenever I see a star, I'm creating a new seat whose x-coordinate corresponds to how many characters over I saw it, and whose y-coordinate corresponds to how many rows down I am. And then I add the chart, and when I see an empty space, I don't want to do anything. And I think that's it. So here I'm going to say current y plus equals chart dot grid square height. And I think that's all. So then, this is all inside parse file format. So I don't need to return anything because I'm assigning things to chart. Okay, so now in here, I can go ahead and return chart. Okay, I think that does it. I'm not initializing seats. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this out a bit. So eventually, well, very soon, I want to create a tester that will let me actually display, but let's not do that yet. Let's create a p-applet. Actually, hold on. So the structure of a p-applet, when you're using Core version 3, is you want a settings method and a setup method and a draw method. So inside settings, you can set the size of the window. inside setup is where I'm going to say seeding chart equals seeding chart dot generate from file. And then I can pass in this as the p-applet. Remember, the second argument here is supposed to be a p-applet, and because our file is a p-applet, because it extends p-applet, if I pass in this, that will work. And now I want to go ahead. Actually, I think that's all I want to do right now, because I just want to see, are there any errors when it's generating the file. So I'm going to go ahead and create a text file where, so this is a test file for my simple seeding chart format, lines beginning with / are ignored, file sections are separated with blah in section. Well, maybe that's enough. Okay, so now I guess I also want to ignore completely blank lines because I like to space things out. So maybe I'll come back and I'll add that. All right, so grid, I guess I'm going to make it, I guess I'm going to make the grid 80 by 80. And now I'm going to do ***, space, space, ***, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like this. Then how do I want to work this? More like that. Yeah, more like that. Okay. Oh. What did I call this? Oh, seeding pair generator is what I called it. And I'm going to call this test format 1.text. And there it is. So back in runner, and let's go ahead and change our parser real quick so that I also ignore lines that, what? Okay, right, if it starts with // I skip it. If it starts with that, I go to the next section. So, or line dot equals the empty string. So this won't actually ignore a line that contains only white space, but that's fine for the moment. Okay, let's go ahead and run the runner. Oh, it is running the wrong program. Oh, I know why too. Okay, hold on, I forgot what. Okay, so we have to have a main method that creates and runs the p-applet. And the right format for that is this, except here it's got to match the p-applet class name. Okay, let's try it again. Great. Cool. File not found exception. Okay, probably because, oops, So I think it actually runs from inside the bin folder, because I think when Eclipse compiles to object code, it runs from inside bin. So I'm going to find test format one.txt, one folder up from that, or not. Okay, fine. I'm going to go ahead and let's do something nicer. So I'm going to create a new folder called, is this going to generate in the right place? Yeah, okay. I'm going to create a new folder called, but it's not going to be in source. Called data with a lowercase d. Okay, so here's my data folder, and I'm going to drag that into here. And now I'm going to say properties, and I'm going to add that as a class folder. Does data need to be inside? Hold on. Oh, great, data. Okay. Cool. So I'm pretty sure that now that it's a class folder, I can just read it that way. No, of course not. Is it called the right thing? Test format one.txt, test format one.txt, that's all consistent. Okay, after a little poking around, I think I got it now. So let's go to read file as string, new file reader, file path. Okay, after a little more poking around, this looks quite nice. So we'll use the class loader to get the resource. And the resource here is the file that we want to read. And then it looks like file.readAllBytes will just give us the contents directly as a string. So this is going to be like a much shorter, much nicer version. So let's give it a try. So instead of all this string builder nonsense, let's go ahead and do this. This will be file path. Okay, I guess that's okay. Okay, that makes sense. And then we will return content. Yes. Okay. Cool, let's try it all again. Great. So file found true, reading line 0 is a comment, reading line 0, oh, I forgot to update which line it was reading. Okay, that's a thing. Number format exception for input string 80. That's interesting and unexpected. So let's figure it out. Oh, not that. So wait, let's start out. So line number is going to update. Oh, what a pain. Okay, so here, line number, I'll start at -1, and then it's the first thing I'll do. Okay, and now number format exception. So it doesn't like 80. Why doesn't it like 80? So I bet it has to do with the new line character at the end of this line. That's my best guess. So let's do this. Trim is a method that you can run on a string, because this is a string, and it removes all leading and trailing white space. So I think that the problem is that when we're splitting on space, this 80 is not just 80, it's 80 followed by a next line character. And it can't interpret the next line character as being part of the number. So what trim is doing is it's removing that next line character. Boy, I hope that's it. Let's try it. Cool. Okay, so it seems like starting section 0, well, that's not really what I wanted to say. I think it's working. I think just my output doesn't make any sense. Oh yeah. So we do file section ++, and then we print it. All right, so let's also have it display here where it's creating a new seat. Great. That's it. Let's run it one more time. Cool, so it's clearly creating a lot of seats. All right, so time to test the actual display portion. So what I really want to be able to do, so background is the background color. I really want to be able to say chart.draw and have the chart draw itself. So, so I've got to declare the chart up here. But we haven't made a draw method yet, so let's make one. And I'm going to say window. So really, when the chart draws itself, all I want to have happen right now is I want to loop over all the seats and have each seat draw itself. All right. Well, that's something. It's like sort of what I wanted it to look like. All right, so let's tweak this a little bit. So I'm going to change the format so that instead of 80 by 80, the width is 80, but the height is like 50. And actually, I'm going to make the width like 100. Let's try it again. Okay, that looks a little bit nicer. Except I think that the width actually needs to be much larger, like 200. Oh. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that means I'm going to need to really change the size of this thing. So now it's displaying much wider than actually fits. This is looking like it's getting to be the right size though. So I'm going to set the background so that it is not black. Okay. Let's make it like gray. Okay, but obviously we haven't assigned any names yet. I'm going to make this 1600 by 800. Okay. Why is this off by 1? It's weird. Oh, because that's off by 1. Okay. Okay, that's looking quite a bit better now. So now I'm going to go ahead and display names in there. So let's go back to the runner. So I need a way of assigning... my names to the chart. So seeding assignment, let's remember how this works. Right. So seeding assignment is going to return a seeding assignment object. Okay, cool. So here in runner, let's go ahead and grab this old tester. And I guess I'll put it in here. Except now I don't want to... Oh, I see. So that's looping through the different assignments. So I guess I want to do a couple of things. I want to be able to... I want to set a class list from a file, and the file is going to be class list.txt. So I'm going to have this be kind of the same as this one. So let me go to my read file as string. It's a little bit wasteful to put this inside seeding assignment also, but I'm going to. Okay, so now inside runner, I'm going to create this method. Wait, why is it static? Did I run it statically? I did run it statically. Oh, and then I generate chart I. Oh, but it's a static variable. I kind of forgot how seeding chart works. Sorry, I kind of forgot how seeding assignment works. So seeding assignment, yeah, my class list is static. Great. So I guess I'll go ahead and set class list this way. So I think I'll start by saying string names equals read file as string, file path, and then this is file path. And then I'll go ahead and say string bracket names equals results dot split on the new line character, so one name per line, and then I'll go ahead and run my pre-existing method set class list. Oh, except set class list takes this. No. Oh, I wrote multiple. Okay, so set class list using string of names. Great. So then set class list with names. Okay, so hopefully that will work. So now I can delete those two. All right, so I make a seeding chart, which I generate from the file. I have seeding assignment set the class list from the class list, and now I'm free to start generating them. So I guess I'll go ahead and generate a seeding assignment. So let's do this. Oops. I want to do chart.assign students, and then I'm going to give it a seating assignment. So seating assignment, I'm not going to call it generate chart, I'm going to call it generate assignment. It's a little bit nicer. Oh, what? Come on. What? Oh. Okay. And now I'm going to create this method. Wait, what did I just create then? Those are the same. Okay. Assignment. Cool. So, as I recall, a seating assignment consists of a list of, yes, a list of working pairs. And my seats also, okay, so here's what I want to do. I want to all right, so first I want to check to make sure that there's the same number of students in the assignment as there are in the seating chart. So if assignment dot get number of pairs doesn't equal this dot get number of seats. So number of students doesn't match number of seats. And then I got to create these methods. So I'm going to return this dot seats dot size. And then here, I'm going to return this dot pairs dot size. Return this dot pairs dot size. Okay. And so now I think I'm going to loop over, this is in seating chart, so I think I'm going to loop over the seats. Or actually, let's use a for each loop. So I'm looping over the seats, and for every seat, I'm going to assign a pair. Right, seat has got a working pair. Okay, so seat dot set working pair, and ooh, I guess I gotta, okay, so let's do this. Assignment dot get working pairs. Which I'm gonna call unassigned. Now I'm going to make a random index into that list. So math.random times unassigned.size. Okay, and so now I'm going to say unassigned.remove index. Because remove will actually remove it from the unassigned list, but also return what it removed, and now I'm setting that as the working pair here. Okay, great. I think that does all the assigning. Let's give it a try. Cool. Let's debug. Null pointer. Oh, yeah. Right, because I didn't actually make the file yet. Cool. Okay. Test class 1.text. So here's my class name. How many pairs do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Okay. So there's 36 students. What's it called? Test class 1. So here in runner, test class 1. All right, let's run it again. Cool. Except it doesn't seem to be displaying them. I have a new theory, which is it might be displaying them in white. So let's just make sure that that's not happening. Chart.draw, seat.draw. So window.stroke, window.color 0. And let's do window. Maybe that's enough. Okay, that's not it. So debugging time. System.out.println displaying students, working pair.get left student plus working pair.get right student. Okay, so it's trying to display some student names. An interesting thing I'm noticing is, oh, it's in a loop because draw is in a loop. Okay, so one interesting thing I'm noticing is we're including some new line characters in our student names, which is probably bad. Is it fill instead of stroke? Oh, of course now those are all black. Okay. Let's try this again. Okay, it was fill. Cool. Why is it displaying my 2 rectangles is what I want to know. Oh, it isn't displaying. It's not displaying. It's displaying 2 copies of each of these. Well, this is peculiar. Oh, well, that mystery is resolved. This was displaying 2 copies because I'm not actually telling it to display the right student. Okay, that's fixed. Let's go to working pair and okay, let's not go to working pair. Let's go to, oh, let's just go to, let's go to student. I'm gonna trim the student name here. Okay, so far so good. So these are all my pairs, it looks like. So the last thing I want to do is I want to make it so that I can cycle through the seating charts inside my runner. So int chart num equals 0, and this will be chart num. Nope. This will be chart num. And now what I want to do is let's do public void key released. So if the key was released, I'm going to do chart num is chart num plus 1 mod it needs to be mod the number of students minus 1. So I guess it will be chart dot get total students minus 1. And then I'll go ahead and regenerate my seating assignment based on that. So return this dot get num seats times 2, because there's twice as many students as seats. Okay. Oh, and I guess I should display up here what my seating chart is. So let's do fill 0 text seating chart number chart num, and it's going to be at, let's do text align left. Let's make it a 1010. See how that looks. Oh, great, seating chart number 0. And now let's 1, 2, 3, 4. So up through $34. So I'm modding too early because 35 should be allowed. Okay, let's try it again. Oh. Okay, maybe only 34 should be allowed. Does that really make sense though? Oh yeah, of course, because 0 is a number. So there's 35 total charts. We just end with 34. Okay, I feel good. All right.